Hello, welcome to the debut of my channel. Decided to read some books for you guys, and I'm going to start with one of my favorite books, which I grew up on. This is Wet Breams by Will Taylor. Yeah, Wet Breams, not Wet Dreams. Bream is a fish. Yeah. See, I've been reading this book since I was a kid. You can see it's very well used, very well beaten up, and yeah. Bill Taylor, otherwise known as William Holmes Taylor, was raised in East Africa, third generation African, like myself. Educated in England, South Africa, France, the United States, and holds a degree in biology and a doctorate in dental surgery. Dentistry has been his hobby, but fishing, animal, and behavior are his passion. His dreams. I dream of the Zambezi rivers. I dream of the clean African air. I dream of clear blue skies. I dream of a land so rare. I miss him whenever I'm not there. Oh, this is. Right, here's the foreword by the editor. It was a bright sunny October day when I first met Bill. At first glance I thought he had just walked out of Africa. Broad one-toothed smile, a bandana on his head, and African trade beads around his neck. A typical bush beard and casual down-to-earth clothes. Curiosity killed the cat, and I started my line of inquiry. Hi Bill, where are you from? What do you do? And so on, until I was totally captured by his amazing stories. Being an elephant fan myself, I was all the more intrigued with his story on living with the elephant herd for 3 months. How in the world was a boy of just 16 able to live amongst an elephant herd? Bill had the attention of all my staff when he explained that he had to take off all his clothes and cover himself in ellie dung and walk around the outskirts of the herd like this for 3 days before they would even allow him to walk in amongst them. We had squawks and squeals amidst laughter, and that's how Bill arrived at his nickname, Buffalo Bill. This was going to be the beginning of many more hours spent talking together about past experiences and where and how he had arrived on my doorstep. Bill wanted to share his memoirs, collated into a book, to alleviate some of the troubled spirits, not only in Zimbabwe, but all around the world. When you read through this humorously funny book, you'll be transported back in time, into your own early childhood, teenager hooligan days, and the more comical side of adult life. There's no doubt in my mind that this book has been published at the right time. With all of Zimbabwe's political upheaval, with all the mixed feelings of depression and hatred lingering in the backdrop, it is like a breath of fresh air to an open wound that has been festering for many years. So a bit of background. This book was published in the early 2000s when the farm invasions in Zimbabwe were at their height. A lot of farmers lost their farm violently without compensation. My own dad lost his farm in the about the mid 90s. So yeah, can relate a lot to this book and to Bill. It'll bring you to fits of laughter that you thought were not possible again. It'll arouse the long gone feeling of pride and courage, and will surely bring a truce between body and soul. I can honestly say that this will not be the last of Buffalo Bill's tales, and that this is truly the beginning of a new collection of memories for all of us who live, have lived, or wish to live in Africa. May your spirit always fly free. That's the foreword from the publisher. To write, oh to write, to cover a page with memories and dreams, even scribble scrabble, that would bring a temporary truce between body and soul. To dream upon a page is, in some sense, to steel oneself against the blows the world deals. It is its own reward and brings the blessings of peace to even the most troubled spirit. What is this? No. Computer wants to restart right in the middle of my reading. Alright, chapter 1. Wet Breams, and stand indebted over and above in love and service to you evermore. Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare. He likes to put these little poems in every now and again, especially at the beginning of chapters. And you also got to pay attention because he kind of jumps between the present in which he's writing the book and his past. So he kind of jumps in between. So I'll try and keep you up to date. So this is like present. We had flown into Chiquena, a camp between Mana Pools and the Mapata Gorge, for a weekend of pure fishing. That's on the Zambezi River. Mary Buns has already caught an 8-pound tigerfish, and Cyril with his son has caught a couple smaller ones. A lovely day tasting the magic of the Zambezi River, hearing the hippos making their loud gurgling, watching the excited faces of our group as they catch. As I am older and wiser, I wait and watch to see where the tiger are biting before assembling my rod. I take a swivel, thread the line through the loop, twist, run the end through the space, lick the line for lubrication, and expertly run the knot down to the swivel. I clip on a 2-meter trace, as I know how many tiger have been lost because they cut the line with their tail. I clip on a large hook and bait it with a good chunk of oxhide. I cast out and let the current take the bait down to a swirl in the river, where I've seen a bit of fish activity. Tigerfish are enormously fun to catch. I love fishing for tiger. Need to go back and do some more. About this time, I notice a little bee-eater who takes me off into space where there are no time limits, no boundaries. I dream of the elusive 20-pound bream that I've been trying for all my life. Ken van Blurk has one and had it mounted. A 28-pound thin-faced happy. Heard a story from Dave Viljoen about arriving in his fishing camp at Cabora Bassa and going up to his caretaker who was smoking a bream of similar species. It had been gutted and descaled, and had already been on the fire for a while already. He took his fishing scale and weighed it. 19.8 pounds. But then, you always have to take everything Dave says, not with a pinch, but with a bag of salt. 2-pound bream give a wonderful fight. It seems the bigger they get, the better the fight. Just imagine one around 20 pounds. Dreams take me upriver to Ngonya Falls, where my late friend Laurie Sparrow and I took our boys on a fishing trip. My mind whirls to different fishing spots around the world. Kafui River in Zambia, Luapula in the Congo, Lake Tanganyika, Kagera River in Tanzania, Mauritius, Mozambique, False Bay in South Africa, Alaska, Gulf of Siam in Thailand, and then, like a parasail without the updrafts, it comes zoning in on my first fishing trip. Dad was the doctor at Hairy Mission Hospital. It had started out as 2 mud and wattle shacks. He used to hang mosquito nets above the operating table so that the lizards would not fall onto the patient while he was operating, which is what they did when he first started. He also kept a badminton racket handy to swat the numerous bumblebees and bats that inhabited the roof. Gradually he had a hospital built, which is still operating today. One of his duties was to do sleeping sickness clinics. Kibondo was about 200 kilometers away, and it took us all day to get there. Early the next morning, the patients would all line up to be examined and treated. The different tropical diseases were fascinating. Ulcers, elephant legs caused by elephantiasis, goiters, one we operated on weighed 15 pounds, hernias of all types and plenty of cataracts. Then there were always the assorted knife and spear wounds and the odd axe stuck in someone's head. On one of these trips, Dad planned on going another 300 kilometers up to Mwanza after his clinic at Kibondo. Mom got me some building line that said 100-pound test on it. On one of her trips to Kigomo, she also bought some large hooks. No small fish for my boy. Now, most of Dad's friends being big into hunting, the fishing thing sounded very exciting. Mom and Dad met friends on the lake steamer at the harbour, and I was left to fish. No lessons, just, you can go and fish now. I found a huge black man sitting on a bucket on one of the lower decks of the steamer. He was catching imbiri, which is like a large sardine. We chatted away, and after a few fruitless attempts of catching imbiri on my large hooks, I asked the man if he would lend me one of his fish. He kindly obliged, and I put one of them on my hook and piece of building line, and took it up to the top deck where the adults were having tea. I showed my mum what I had caught, got the attention and praise I wanted, and then returned the fish to my new friend. He suggested that with such a large hook and line, I ought to go and fish off the pier with some of his other friends. He shouted to one of them, who took me to the end of the pier and showed me how to put stiff porridge onto the hook and where to throw it. All the fishermen were impressed with my fluency in Swahili. My parents and sister were the only white people I had ever spoken to, so you could say that Swahili was my mother tongue. We all sat there, and in 5 minutes, in true African custom, we knew each other's names, where we had come from, and each man's job. Suddenly there was a tremendous jerk on my line. I let out a blood-curdling shriek and threw the line away. It trailed into the water for a few feet and then disappeared into the depths. The shriek had brought Mom on the run. I excitedly told her what had happened and that a fish had taken the hook and line. No problem. Another length of line, another large hook. But this time you won't lose it because I'm going to tie it to your wrist. A kiss on each cheek, a little hug, and you won't mind if I go back to our friends. I haven't had anyone to talk to for so long. Never mind that her firstborn might be dragged off into the depths by some leviathan. I knew the ropes by now. I took the stiff porridge and made a little ball, putting it over the end of the hook. I took a small length of line, swung the hook round and round, and plopped it into approximately the same hole I had my line the first time. I sat down and found out that most of my friends were Muslims. This struck fear into my heart, as the Waha tribe generally spoke badly of the Muslims, told of the curved knives they carry beneath their robes, slit your throat in a second. Very rude too, always laying down and pointing their posteriors to the sky. These thoughts were running through my mind when I felt another tug. Not a big one, but just enough to give me a fright and make me jerk my hand, setting the hook good and proper. What happened in the next few seconds has been branded in my memory forever. I screamed. Everyone looked. I started to run. Something was slowing me down, and as I looked back, a catfish of enormous size came over the edge. Next came the Muslims with their knives drawn. I was now in double trouble. If I didn't get away from that catfish, the Muslims would slit my throat. So in full flight, and letting the whole world know about it, I ran down the full length of the pier of Monza. Mom, being a fleet runner herself, took in the scene at a glance, and came running down the gangplank onto the pier, and caught me before I took off into the bush. From the safety of her embrace, I watched as the Muslims came and cut the hook out of the catfish's mouth, and proudly presented me with the fish, which was about as big as I was. I thanked them and told them they could have it. The sun is setting over Lake Victoria. The lake steamer is silent against her moorings. My mother is holding my hand as I ride on the shoulders of one of my Muslim friends. Next to him is another friend holding the catfish aloft, so everyone can see it, and the rest follow in procession. I notice my line is running out, and I realize I had not tightened the clutch. I frantically tighten the clutch, and now it is screaming, a sound that gives every fisherman a rush. My rod is bent at 90 degrees. I watch as the line runs out. There is a decisive snap. The rod flicks back, and all eyes are on me. Sometimes it's not so cool to be older and wiser. Alright, that's the end of chapter 1. Sleep well, and I'll see you tomorrow for chapter 2.